Good morning. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Two millennial candidates from the city of Manila will share their brand of next-generation politics. Here at the forefront. Timothy Zarcal, the youngest councilor of Manila, is now seeking re-election for the 3rd District. A proud son of an 8-term councilor from Santa Cruz, Manila, he carries decades-long legacy of public service from his father. What drives this young leader to push for change? Joining us this morning is the re-electionist councilor of the 3rd District of Manila, Timothy Zarcal. Good morning, Consi Tol.
Good morning, Attorney Karen.
Grabe, batang-bata talaga. I can't believe you've been in politics for a couple of years by now.
5 years na, actually.
5 years na. Okay, so to get to know you better, we're going to play this game.
Okay.
Tol or no tol? Okay, so I'm going to give a statement and then sabihin mo lang kung tol or hindi tol.
Okay.
Okay? So first, si Yorme ang nag-influence sa iyo na pumasok sa politika noong 2022. Tol or hindi tol?
Hindi tol.
Hindi tol.
Yeah.
Okay, so between among you, the people that in your family, sino ba ang nag-influence sa iyo na pumasok sa politika?
Actually, you'd be surprised because coming from yung sa father ko nga, 'di ba? I was very exposed to it, but none of them or none of my family members ever pushed me into going into politics kasi what we believe in, what I believe din naman, politics kasi especially if you had the first-hand experience of seeing it, kung hindi siya nasa puso mo rin talaga, I don't think it's something that you would enjoy personally. Kasi from what I've experienced, yung politics and yung public service in general is a very, very challenging job to do. I mean, you're going down to the communities, you're talking with different kinds of people from all characters.
Yeah. So kung mahirap siya na trabaho, na naisip mo na mahirap talaga siya from the start, ano yung nag-udyok sa'yo na pumasok sa politika?
Well, siguro for me, it didn't really seem like a hard job for me because because it was natural na para sa akin to be with the community.
Natural for you because your father was a councilor himself?
I was exposed, yes. And siguro na rin, batang-gala na rin ako nung bata pa lang din ako.
Sa Manila talaga, umiikot ka na?
Yeah.
Okay, so ano ang reaction ng mother mo nung nag-decide kang tumakbo noong back then, 2020?
Siguro na nagulat din siya. Although she was very supportive, she was one of the people that was also behind my dad's campaigns during that, parang campaign manager ng dad ko, yung mom ko. She would handle all the logistics and all the nitty-gritty stuff behind the scenes. And nung sinabi niya na, nung pumasok na ako, or when I decided to go into politics also, biglang she felt proud, and at the same time, she felt anxious also kasi this time, anak naman niya ang papasok, and knowing sometimes how challenging politics can get, natatakot siya kung ano ba yung mga mangyayari na issues na maibabato sa akin.
Siya rin yung nag-handle, sinasabi mo mga nitty-gritty stuff behind the scenes.
Yes.
And you took your seat as councilor in 2020. Paano nangyari yun since ang elections would be 2019?
Well, nung 2020 kasi, I was the one the 2019 elections, I was the one who was handling my dad's campaign behind the scenes naman na. I recently graduated college lang ng time na yon. I helped him out in the campaign. And then, nung 2019, pagkapanalo ni Yorme Isko as mayor ng time na yon, na invite na si Councilor Letlet, my father, to go into the executive branch na. So he resigned from the seat, from his council seat, and because yung position na yon is meant for the party, ako yung napiling ma-i-appoint in replacement of my father during that time.
So the first time you served as councilor, hindi ka through elections, it was by technically appointment.
Yes, yes.
Okay, interesting. So let's look at the next question. Bata ka pa lang, alam mo na gusto mong mag-public service. Tol o hindi tol?
Tol.
Tol. So
Yes.
talagang bata pa lang.
Yes.
How old were you when you realized that you wanted to go into public service?
Surprisingly, actually, medyo nung matanda-tanda na ako. Like around college or nung pag-graduate na rin ako ng college. Nung nag-yes na rin ako sumama sa campaign ng father ko to be the one in charge of his campaign behind the scenes. But ang nagpa-realize sa akin nun actually was yung mga kabarkada ko pa na when they were telling me, alam mo tol, bagay na bagay ka rin talaga dyan. Because in my head, I was trying to stay away as much as I can from being that political figure or sa harapan ng mga tao. Pero ang nagpa-realize sa akin yung mga barkada ko because simula grade 1 pa lang daw, ang sabi nila quote nun, ako ba naman pare? Grade 1 pa lang, ikaw na lagi yung class president namin, ikaw na lagi yung student council namin, hanggang sa nag-graduate tayo, ikaw
So
na
you're
rin
really comfortable in leadership roles?
Yes.
Dati pa lang?
Yes, but siguro I was in denial lang na saying it was just something that I like to do, something that I enjoy doing.
Maraming tao laging naiilang na tatakbo, mga ngampanya, even for school positions. So ikaw bata pa lang, komportable ka na sa pangangampanya?
Yes.
Talaga?
And I think parang in my head kasi hindi ako nangangampanya eh. I think talagang because yung pangalan ko nga Tol, parang sinabuhay ko na rin talaga yung pagiging Tol. Because Tol is, di ba, kaibigan, pare. So the way I do my brand of politics is always just talking with people, asking how they feel, and then eventually try to solve yung mga problems kung meron man sila, and then eventually, yun, napipili ako.
Paano ba
nila.
naging Tol ang nickname mo? From Timothy?
Timothy Oliver yung buong pangalan ko. So, kunin mo yung umpisa ng T, and then kunin mo yung OL, naging Tol. But ever since lumabas ako sa tiyan ng nanay ko, Tol na talaga ang tawag ng tao sa akin.
And the only other politicians that we're familiar of that is also a Tol is Senator Francis Tolentino.
Yes.
Nag-meet na ba kayo?
Yes, we have na actually. He was one of the people that assisted me in passing, nung pinasa ko yung isa sa mga ordinances ko, or one of the laws that I passed in the city of Manila, which is the creation of yung Sharia court for yung mga Muslim brothers and sisters natin. He was the sponsor of it in the Senate naman.
Okay.
So nung naipasa na ni Senator Tolentino po yun dun sa Senate, I was proudly sharing it to yung mga constituents din namin na meron tayong Sharia court in Manila.
So, Tol and Tol pala yun?
Yes.
Okay. But what a cute story. But Sharia courts, it was really also created at the level of, naglabas naman ng rules on that ang Supreme Court.
Yes.
Pero, kung hindi ba magkaroon ng ordinance pala, hindi siya makikreate in the city of Manila, for example?
It was mostly urging na nag-creation. The ordinance was urging na the higher-ups to create it na because as per consulting yung mga Muslim na brothers and sisters natin, because yung district ko is in Quiapo, where the Golden Mosque is. So we have the Muslim administration there also. They were telling us, and yung co-sponsor ko, si Attorney J.B. Hison, na maipush na natin din siya. So nung naipasa namin, pinresent din namin dun sa senators natin, and then eventually naipasa na rin din nila, which the people from my community in Quiapo were very, very happy with.
Yeah, because prior to that, wala silang pinupuntahan for
they have to go all the way to Mindanao.
Concerns. Yes. Okay, so next question. Kung hindi ka pumasok sa politika, magiging professional dancer or athlete ka ba? Tol or hindi tol?
Hindi tol.
Hindi tol? So, none of the arts. Ano yung naisip mong professional career nung hindi ka pa nag-decide na mag-politics?
During yung last year ko in DLSU, working student na rin ako nun because yun nga, as I was a dancer all throughout high school din.
Dancer? So talagang meron ding basis pala.
Meron din yung na yun.
But that was what? Like for fun?
It was for
or
fun.
Recreation?
Yeah. I used to compete abroad also sa Hip Hop International
Talaga?
back in the day.
Naku, sayang sana.
Kung may space lang tayo
oo
dito,
nga,
no?
hingi ako ng sample. But, so hip-hop dancing, and you really competed internationally
Yes,
for that.
awarded actually.
You're awarded?
Yeah, medalist tayo sa Hip Hop International.
Ang galing
World.
naman.
Oo.
So, that's really a talent of yours.
Yeah, that was something that I did for fun. It was like one of yung hobbies ko na rin na na-enjoy ko. And eventually, biglang next thing we knew, nagko-compete na tayo sa Las Vegas for against all the different countries in the world.
Ang galing nga. And
Yeah.
ngayon ba nagagamit mo sa campaign mo yung dancing skills mo?
For a part of it. Siguro before I give my speech, I show lang a bit of yung talent ko for 30 seconds. And I guess it's part of Filipino culture din kasi natutuwa rin sila kapag na-entertain din sila. And then I talk to them about yung mga platforms na rin natin.
Ikaw ba, you're a young politician. So, a lot of people will say that it's usually the younger ones that, can break out of the mold ng laging sine-stereotype na trapo politician. In your view, kailangan bang palitan yung culture lang yan sa politics natin na kailangan mong i-entertain yung audience, kailangan mo kumanta, kailangan mo sumayaw, or do you agree with that type of politics?
I think as long as you use it in the extent na it's not your end all and be all of being that kind of politician. Like for example, ako, hindi ko naman dinedeny kasi yung past ko that I came from a dancing background or sumasayaw din ako because it was one of the things that also, one of the things that I used as working student. I was doing gigs also nung college. It even helped me pay for yung tuition ko rin nung time din na yun. And ginagamit ko lang siya as a way to express a part of myself na even though dancer din ako, I also learned different leadership skills being in that organization, being in that group. And now, share ko lang din siya. And then kapag nagamit ko na yun, I give my time or the time that was given to me sa mga campaigns to really talk about what are the pressing issues that we have. And I think because Filipinos in general, kaya nga tayo may mga fiestas din, kaya tayo may mga variety shows wherever we go. Kasi the Filipinos are a culture of singing, dancing, very, very talented. And siguro if we use that power, use that talent for good, I don't think it's really a bad thing to be able to express that also, even in the politics side din naman.
So it's okay to incorporate entertainment.
Yes.
And you're also, ito yung next question natin. Produkto ka ng Jessie Robredo Foundation Training Program.
Yes.
Tall or hindi tall?
Tall.
Okay. So, paano ka napunta sa program na ito? YLGG.
YLGG, yeah. Yung YLGG is yung Young Leaders for Good Governance.
Yeah.
Shout out sa lahat ng mga classmates ko back in Batch 4 and Batch 5. It was a co-sponsored program ng NMYL, which is the Young Movement of Young Legislators, which I'm an officer of din. Na they were seeking applicants to learn dun sa YLGG program. I applied because yun nga, I was still very young at the time, 24 years old then, and looking to I believe naman kasi knowledge is something that shouldn't be taken for granted, and I always try to find things na can add to yung knowledge ko. And nung nakita ko na the topics were about public health, sabi ko, okay, since ako communications graduate ako, pol sci din yung mga napag-aralan ko, why not learn something different naman, which is public health naman. So I can add that knowledge and be able to serve it naman to yung mga constituents natin.
And in this Youth Leaders for Good Governance program ng Jessie Robredo Foundation,
Yes.
did you have to apply for this? Or paano ka napunta sa program na to?
Nag-apply ako, I sent an email, and then they replied siguro I think around a week after, and nakita ko din naman yung list of the ones that were accepted. It was mostly for first-term politicians or first-term na councilors and board members, and first term and second term, para at least yung knowledge makuha nila, magagamit din nila in the middle of yung term.
And ano yung definition ng young? Ano yung cut-off age nila?
It was open to all members ng NMYL. nung National Movement of Young Legislators. Ang NMYL kasi is open for all legislators 40 and below ng local government. So, vice governors, board members, vice mayors, councilors.
Okay, so technically yung young leaders nila, basta 40, pwede pa?
Yes.
Okay, hindi naman yung mga super
Hindi
yawa.
naman.
Akala ko ang cut-off was 30 or below 30.
Hindi naman.
Okay, and itong next question natin, principal author ka ng 10 ordinansa bilang first-termer councilor
Yes.
ng Manila. Tol or hindi tol?
Tol.
So first-termer pa lang, naka-10 ordinance ka na agad.
Yes.
Paano ka nagkaroon ng ideas for ordinances?
I guess, going back din siguro sa medyo nakikwento ko na yung ugali ko lang din bilang isang tol. Kasi mahilig lang ako makipagkaibigan, makipag-ugnayan sa tao. So everyday, habit ko na rin naman na umikot sa communities namin. And through yung grassroots na connection ko with them, that's where I stem my ideas from. So whenever I go down to the community, sasabihin din nila na, konsehal, parang kumakalat na ulit yung parang dami nating basura ng mga single-use plastics. And then that's when the idea came around na we should have the amendments na for yung mga single-use plastics na ordinance natin in the City of Manila. And then yung ideas that come from consulting with our constituency, doon ko binibase off na kung ano yung mga isusulat ko na rin naman na doon sa council.
So can you give us your top 3 most important ordinances, in your opinion, yung sa mga lahat ng ordinances na napasa mo in those 5 years?
Top 3 din siguro, one is yung amendment ng mga single-use plastics natin. Although until now, the implementation is a bit medyo inaayos pa natin yung implementation din nun because the demographic of Manila is complicated in terms of how we're going to do that fairly and justly para sa the different stakeholders. So yun, yung amendment ng mga single-use plastics natin.
But just to give us an idea, pagka nag-grocery ka, hindi plastic ang ibibigay sa'yo?
Yung sa mga palengke, yes pa, pero sa mga grocery, we're starting to implement na gagamitin na natin, na babawasan na natin din yun.
Okay, pero meron pa rin?
Meron pa rin yung iba.
Okay. So that's one. What else?
Number 2 siguro yung isa sa tinakil ko rin was back during my first term, yung appointment year ko rin was the help of, pinush natin yung general amnesty sa City of Manila para sa mga penalties and violations ng mga tao din doon. Because that was during the time of the pandemic. I was an appointed councilor during the time of the pandemic. And yung time na yon, because walang trabaho at that time, walang masyadong kinikita ang taong bayan noon, we really pushed kay Mayor Isko nung time na yon na magkaroon sana tayo ng amnesty para doon sa mga tao. Para at least makapag-renew na sila ng mga permits nila, ma-renew na nila or mabayaran nila yung renewal para sa mga lisensya nila, makuha na rin nila. So it was a way to at least ease yung problems or yung mga damdamin ng mga residents din namin din doon at the time. And siguro number 3 na masaya din ako, which I think is the most controversial out of all, was yung yung no contact apprehension back in I was the principal author nung time din na yan. Sa akin
Okay.
na
Do you
yun.
have the technology now in Manila for no contact apprehension?
Actually, right now, it's still naka-TRO based dun sa Supreme Court na mandate na binigay. It was naka-TRO siya for all cities inside the Metro Manila. So, even QC, Pasig, and QC, Pasay, and Parañaque, all the cities that have that ordinance passed into law, medyo pina-TRO siya ng Supreme Court. And
But
so
you
right
believe that no contact apprehension can work well
Yes,
in the Philippines?
especially in Metro Manila. Kasi for me kasi during that time, there's still a lot of things that we can amend from it. But right now then I believe na yes, because it's a way for us to really lessen din yung kultura ng kotong sa sa
So now you're on your third term. Ano ang naiisip mong ordinance that is a priority to you?
I think incoming, kung manalo man ulit ako this coming elections, one thing that I really want to focus on is yung economic opportunities natin din for the city. Because, of course, we are at the time right now where globally, it's getting harder to find jobs then, and at the same time, we're in a transition to job opportunities to be in different forms of jobs. It can be work from home, it can be dun sa mga small to medium
So what type of
businesses natin.
ordinance would you draft in order to increase livelihood opportunities?
Siguro, I would start with drafting an ordinance then na encouraging or opening yung mga stakeholders natin or investors to the City of Manila in terms of giving them, depending on what industry, let's say if it's more open to the environment or mas siguro ecologically preserving, we give them a bit of leeway in terms of yung sa mga permits na nababayaran din nila. Let's say I have a friend na eco-uling ang ginagawa niya. So, pag inopen niya yung business niya dito sa City of Manila, because it's for the environment din naman, it's sustainable, bibigyan natin sila ng konting leeway para dun sa pagpasok ng business na yon to promote those kinds of businesses na industry inside the City of Manila.
Between you and your dad, sino ang mas maraming napasa na ordinances?
Oh, obviously yung father ko
Because of the 8
because
years, he
the 8
was-
terms siya. Nilulugpi siya.
Oo nga. So,
Umpisa.
but yung considering that you've only been there for 5 years,
Yes.
at marami ka bang napasa compared to dun sa time na nandun kayo?
I can't really say, or I'm not really
Mahirap
sure kasi
sabihin, yeah.
he became a counselor back in 1992 pa. I wasn't even born at that time.
So hindi mo alam mo. Okay, at saka iba-iba pa yung mga conditions at that time, no?
The city of Manila was so different pa.
Yes,
The country
yeah.
was so different pa at that
Yeah.
time.